Test Drive with Graham Fletcher.
This week on Test Drive, we look at a car that is totally new for 1992. This is the Mazda MX-3 Presidia, a car that is rather unique in its own right. Inside, the MX-3 is well finished, offering a complete range of power options. The front seats are well contoured, offering plenty of comfort and thankfully lateral support. The driving position is good, with all primary controls falling readily to hand. They have even included a very welcome dead pedal. The radio sits below the large slide-type heater controls, which puts the majority of the radio buttons very close to the end of my reach. The instrumentation is legible, although the information is somewhat limited. It only offers the 4 basic gauges and relies on idiot lights to monitor the rest of the vehicle's systems. The rear seats are unique, being formed right out of the car rather than having the conventional seat squab and back. It is awkward to access the rear, and once back there, the amount of head and leg room is very limited. The seat back does fold, which is just as well because the trunk is on the shallow side, making the extra space very welcome. Loading and unloading items is fairly easy, although the liftover is on the high side despite the low-cut contour. ABS is a standard feature on the GS model. During the brake test, the 4-wheel disc brake setup provided flawless stops that averaged 114 feet from 80k. The ABS system allows the driver to get close to the threshold without intervening. When it does intervene, there is very little kickback felt in the pedal. This engine is what makes the Presidia unique. It is the world's smallest displacement mass-produced V6 engine. One thing that interested me about this, for any of you familiar with the old RX-7 engine, the rotary one, it had a very distinctive noise to the engine. Well, Mazda have managed to recreate that distinctive sound with a reciprocating V6. What makes the MX-3, as I indicated, is the 1.8-litre 24-valve quad-cam V6. This motor produces 130 horses and 115 pounds-feet of torque. On the skid pad, we average 0 to 100k times of just under 9 seconds. At idle, it is almost impossible to tell if the engine is running without glancing at the tach, and unlike many other engines which have a tendency to become rather raucous higher up the rev range, this engine becomes sweeter with every additional rev right up to the 7,000 RPM redline. To ensure a broad power band, Mazda have incorporated a variable resonance induction system, a technical sounding name for a system that essentially alters the length of the intake runners to ensure high air velocity in the intake manifold. This equates to good throttle response throughout the operating range. Matched with this engine is a slick shifting 5-speed manual transmission. Both it and the clutch are very easy to use. The suspension on the MX-3 is firm. In fact, my wife bet me that she could tell if a penny were heads or tails if we ran over one. Now that may be a bit of an exaggeration, but it serves to indicate that the ride comfort plays a definite second fiddle to handling. As is evident, during the pylon test, the car comes into its own, with each pass getting a little quicker. There is virtually no body roll and understeer is controlled. The suspension itself is fully independent, using McPherson struts up front and Mazda's twin trapezoidal link system in the back. Anti-roll bars back and front complement the suspension, ensuring a flat attitude is maintained in hard cornering, and the sticky low-profile tyres provide a sure-footed feel. My pet peeve on the Presidia has to do with a couple of items with the rear-end styling. Now, first of all, this very wide B-pillar creates a bit of a blind spot during lane change manoeuvres. Secondly, the rear spoiler limits your rearward visibility. Now, to try and overcome this, they've inserted a see-through plastic piece, but it's occupied pretty much by this third high-mounted stop lamp. Anyway, now to the scoreboard for a rundown on the 1992 Presidia. The free-revving V6 is a real joy to drive. Not only does it provide ample performance at just under 9 seconds to the 100k mark, it also feels and sounds exactly like Mazda's rotary engine, an experience I recommend you try if you haven't already done so. The suspension is firm and as such offers superior handling characteristics. Body roll is all but non-existent and the amount of understeer kept in check. The 4-wheel disc brake system, complete with an anti-lock feature, performed to expectation. The stops are strong and linear, averaging just 114 feet from 80k. The suspension is on the stiff side and is probably too firm for all but the most enthusiastic sports car fan. Having said that, the front seats are comfortable and the small amount of engine noise that does filter through is music to the ears. Wind and tyre noise have been kept to acceptable levels. We averaged a respectable 10.5 litres per 100 kilometres or 27 miles per gallon. For those who have a tendency to rest the gas pedal on the floor, I can guarantee you will not get this kind of mileage. The MX-3 is a very competent car that is enormous fun to drive, especially with the V6 motor. When so equipped, it gives some far more expensive cars a real good run for their money. The new Prelude is one that comes to mind.